Hello guys, and welcome to another video. This time I thought a little bit of nerding out was in order. So, I've compiled a collection of all the TIE Fighter models from the current Star Wars canon. This means that EU models will be left out. I can do a separate video for those in the future, but for now, let's begin. First off, we have the standard twin-ion engine fighter, or TIE for short. Designed by Scion Fleet Systems in 19 BBY, the standard TIE fighter was built with quantity over quality in mind, meaning that they are designed to overwhelm the enemy's defenses by sheer numbers, similar to stormtroopers in fact. After the Republic was reorganized into the Galactic Empire in 19 BBY, the view on warfare was changed due to the introduction of the Tarkin Doctrine in circa 18 BBY. This began the outphasing of the Venator-class Star Destroyer that was used in the Clone Wars. It was systematically replaced with the well-known Imperial-class Star Destroyer. These two Star Destroyers differed a lot. For example, the Imperial-class Star Destroyer was larger, more durable, and carried over 8 times of heavy turbolasers than the Venator-class Star Destroyer. But the most important difference between these two ships, at least the most important for this video, is the Star Destroyer's role in warfare. The Venator-class Star Destroyer is designed as a starfighter carrier primarily, while the Imperial Star Destroyer is aimed at destroying other capital ships. So, from this information we can now see how the Empire focused more on achieving victory through their capital ships, rather than achieving victory through starfighter air superiority, which the Republic mostly focused on. This gives us insight on how the Empire valued its resources as well as their personnel, since the standard TIE fighter now served a secondary role within the Imperial Navy. It lacked shields and hyperdrive as well as life support, meaning that the pilots were required to use their fully sealed flight suits to operate the craft. Well, now that we have covered the background on the fighter and its role in the Imperial Navy, let's jump to its technical specifications. The two ion engines get their power from a solar ionization reactor which is connected to the solar panels forming the two wings. Its armaments consisted of two LS-1 laser cannons mounted on the cockpit. It could also come equipped with ion torpedoes if the situation required it. It lacked a shield generator, so the pilots were very vulnerable in battle. Again, quantity over quality. The lack of shields and hyperdrive made the TIE fighters very cost-effective, showing yet again that the TIE pilots and their craft were nothing but numbers to the high-ranking Imperial officials and officers. As a result of Imperial propaganda and brainwashing who preyed on the Imperial TIE pilots and their pride, they were led to believe that shields were unnecessary in battle, even going to the extent of mocking pilots who used shields and calling them cowards. Moving on to the more advanced model first seen in Star Wars Rebels, effectively named the TIE Advanced V1. The TIE Advanced V1, or Inquisitor TIE, was an improvement on the standard TIE model since the model came equipped with both shields and a hyperdrive. This model featured not only the same armaments as the standard TIEs, but it featured a tracking device launcher so that the Inquisitors who operated these crafts could track a ship if needed. It also featured S-foils so that the wings could fold around the ship during landing.
Commander, I'm scanning a ship entering our sector.
The next model is the TIE Advanced X1. Also known as Vader's personal TIE fighter. This was a prototype starfighter that was intended to replace the standard TIE fighter, but it proved to be too expensive to be put into mass production. Its armaments consisted of the same blaster cannons as the previous model, though Vader's personal fighter may have had some modifications to the weaponry. Plus, it featured a cluster missile launcher for dealing with bigger numbers of enemy fighters. This model also came equipped with shields and a hyperdrive. Since Vader was not a fool, he let install a shield generator on his ship, even though he rarely got hit. He didn't allow his ego to get the best of him, as the TIE fighters often would. Vader's TIE Advanced could have had room for life support, but he deemed it unnecessary due to him being concealed in his armored suit at all times. Therefore, he had the cockpit customized to accommodate his suit instead of the standard pilot suit. The next model is the TIE Interceptor. This model was constructed as a middle ground between the standard TIE and the TIE Advanced. The TIE Interceptor was feasible for mass production and would have replaced the standard TIE if the Empire had not been defeated. It was introduced in the year 3 BBY and featured 4 laser cannons instead of the standard 2. It could even be equipped with 2 additional laser cannons, but this was more uncommon. It still lacked shields and hyperdrive, however. It was deployed to counter the rebellion's repeated use of faster starfighters such as the A-Wings. Here come the Empire's most advanced TIE model in the current canon, the TIE Defender. The TIE Defender came equipped with 4 LS 9.3 laser cannons, while the standard TIE fighter used the older LS-1 model. It also carried 2 medium-sized ion cannons, and to top its armament off, it also had 2 general-purpose warhead launchers, which could carry 4 concussion missiles or 3 proton torpedoes each. As for its other features, this model also came equipped with a hyperdrive as well as deflector shields, making it a true terror for the Alliance to face in battle. Only the most high-ranking ace TIE Interceptor pilots were allowed to pilot these crafts. They had to have survived at least 20 combat missions, and their loyalty to the Empire was to be undisputed when selected, ensuring that only the best of the pilots flew the advanced starfighter. The Mining Guild TIE Fighter was built by Scianar Fleet Systems to serve the Mining Guild, meaning that these were not part of the Imperial military, but still served the Empire through the Mining Guild. The major difference is the yellow color scheme and that a notch is missing from the solar collector. This would improve their visibility but diminish their stability. Next, we have the TIE Bomber, which served as the Empire's primary anti-emplacement and bomber craft. Like most TIE models, this one didn't have shields or hyperdrive either. Its most notable feature is the second pod between the solar collector wings. This pod served as the bombing bay for the craft. It could be armed with concussion missiles, proton bombs, or orbital mines, just to mention a few. A very similar model to the TIE Bomber is the TIE Shuttle, or TIE boarding craft. It's pretty much the same as the TIE Bomber, except that the bombing bay has been replaced with a crew compartment to house either stormtroopers or other officers who needed to travel from ship to ship. One of these could be seen as Captain Nida travels from his Star Destroyer over to Vader's flagship. The solar collector panels, or wings, ampered the TIE fighter's ability to maneuver while in a planet's atmosphere. This leads us to the next model, named the TIE Striker. This TIE model was designed as an atmospheric fighter. The TIE Striker allowed for better maneuverability in suborbital flight, since the horizontal high-speed wings were not as vulnerable to crosswinds as the standard TIE was. Also complementing the aerodynamics was the solid stabilizing mass within the hull of the craft. It was also equipped with repulsor lifts to enable greater airflow around the craft. The larger cockpit pod allowed for a second pilot to act as a bombardier/gunner, and all of this doesn't mean it was incapable of spaceflight, it was just more effective in suborbital environments. And next we have the TIE Reaper. Little else is known about this craft, except that its primary role was to serve as a troop transport, and that it had streamlined wings similar to the TIE Striker, thus allowing for better aerodynamics during suborbital flight. And for our final model in the current Star Wars canon, we have the First Order TIE Fighter. The First Order differs from the Empire in that they regard their pilots and their personnel as valuable, since they are the underdogs in the galaxy at the time. Since more than 30 years have passed since the Battle of Yavin, the First Order TIEs have been upgraded in almost every way. But it is the inclusion of a shield generator that is the biggest advantage, however it still lacked a hyperdrive. The Special Forces TIE was a more modified version of the First Order TIE Fighter. This craft featured the same specs as the standard TIE from the First Order, but it came equipped with a hyperdrive as well as shields. It also featured a secondary seat, allowing for a second pilot to act as a gunner. So that's all the canon TIE fighters as of now. Of course they will introduce more models as we go on. I've seen footage of Kylo Ren's personal fighter rumored to be called the TIE Silencer. So that's just one example. But as of now, these are all the canon models, and thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Vortex out.